Hello YouTube viewers and Transformers fans of all ages, this is the TFangi coming to what will hopefully be a quick and successful video. Today we have the new figure spotlight video, and it is on the Transformers character of Autobot Huffer. Despite being one of the original 18 Autobot cast members who was introduced at the start of the Transformers franchise, unfortunately today Huffer, when Transformers fans are asked to list the original 18 cast of Autobots, it's from their favorite to least favorite and most popular to least popular, Huffer is the one who usually ends up at the bottom of the list. So, of the original Autobot cast introduced at the beginning of the Transformers franchise, Huffer is the character who has ended up at the bottom of the barrel. Now, part of the reason for that is when he appeared in the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon in his first speaking role, Huffer ended up having his arm trapped in some metal rigging from an oil derrick that the Decepticons blew up, and Brawn had to get him out. And then Huffer's next prominent speaking role was him pointing out to Optimus Prime that the Autobots weren't exactly warriors and that they wouldn't really be able to defeat the Decepticons. So, because of those two scenes with Huffer, for a lot of Transformers fans at the time and to this day, many Transformers fans have written off Huffer as being somewhat of a complainer and a whiner. So unfortunately, nothing has really been done with Huffer since then. So unfortunately, Huffer, it's basically he's often overlooked, and most Transformers fans tend to not talk about Huffer when talking about favorite Transformers characters. So going left to right, I have the toys of Huffer that I have are the Transformers Prime Beast Hunters. Cyberverse, I believe, was the size class of toy that this was in. This version of Huffer is a straight-up repaint of the Transformers Prime Beast Hunters toy of Trailbreaker, and Huffer was one of the last toys in the Transformers Prime toy line released in 2013. Here in the middle, the physically largest toy of Huffer that I have, which I believe, counting only official products and not third-party products, this is the physically largest toy of Huffer released by Hasbro. This is the PowerCore Combiners Huffer, which was released back in 2010. And then my favorite toy of Huffer is the Combiner Wars version that was released in 2016. And so, yeah. Despite not being such a popular Transformers character, there are surprisingly a handful of toys of Huffer that have been made over the years, and not counting exclusives and counting only toys that have been released at mass retail, there are a total of 4 toys that have been made of Huffer. The only one that I'm missing was the Generation 1 original Huffer toy that was released in 1984. Now, one interesting bit of trivia about Huffer, the way the Generation 1 toy transformed, and of all 3 of these toys of Huffer, my favorite one, the Combiner Wars version, does it best. And basically, Huffer, when he transformed into robot mode, his head and his torso were solid blue, and since Huffer transforms into an orange semi-truck in the Generation 1 toy line, the original Huffer toy transformed into a semi-truck. Basically, Huffer is one of a handful of Transformers characters from Generation 1 who started the idea of Transformers characters having a different paint job in robot mode and alt mode. Now, unfortunately, that's proven to be difficult for Hasbro and Takara Tomy, and most oftentimes Transformers characters end up having the same paint job in both robot mode and alt mode. So Huffer is one of the few toys who's managed to pull that idea off. Now, as I said, Huffer, the original Generation 1 Huffer toy, transformed into a semi-truck, and Huffer, despite his dialogue of complaining about the Autobots being at a disadvantage and his own disadvantages on the battlefield, Huffer proved that he was a teammate to his fellow Autobots, and in a season episode of the Generation 1 cartoon, Optimus Prime lost a duel with Megatron. Megatron won the duel because he cheated. And when the fight was done and the Autobots left the battlegrounds, Huffer volunteered to pull Optimus Prime's trailer for him, knowing that Optimus Prime was weakened from the fight with Megatron. And so Huffer, that was the moment where in the Generation 1 cartoon they acknowledged the fact that despite being different sized robots, Huffer and Optimus Prime both transformed into semi-trucks. And speaking of size differences, another notable appearance of Huffer was in a Season 2 episode of the Generation 1 cartoon. I apologize for not remembering the name of it, but Huffer basically went on a scouting mission with Hoist, and Hoist ended up actually sitting inside of Huffer's truck cab and actually drove Huffer, so Huffer ended up accidentally mass shifting to a semi-truck large enough to have a robot the size of Hoist driving in his truck cab. So that would basically be Huffer mass shifting from a Legends class-sized robot to a Leader class-sized robot to fit a toy of Hoist inside of him. Now, Huffer, he did appear in the Transformers Generation 1 movie. He was shown standing outside of Autobot City besides Blue Streak and also Hound and Sunstreaker. And even though he wasn't actually shown dying in the film in the Season 3 episode, which the title I do remember was Dark Awakening, there was basically an Autobot mausoleum that was discovered floating through space, and the Autobots who lost their lives in the Generation 1 movie were shown on some of the tombs, and Huffer's name was one of them. So Huffer did not appear in Season 3, and the episode Dark Awakening confirmed that he did, in fact, lose his life fighting the Decepticons. So all three of these toys of Huffer have, the Beast Hunters and the Combiner Wars versions of Huffer, they have one thing in common. They're all repaints and slight retools of previously released toys, and the Power Core Combiners version of Huffer here in the middle, it's the only toy of Huffer that's an original mold. Now, of these three toys of Huffer, for the Power Core Combiners version of Huffer, when it was released in 2010, it marked the first time in 26 years that a new toy of Huffer had been released, and a lot of Transformers fans were disappointed with the Power Core Combiners version of Huffer. One reason they were disappointed with, if you turn around and look at the back, the toy designers at Hasbro and Takara Tomy, they decided to only make Huffer's vehicle mode hood orange, and the rest of him is actually a mustard yellow. And unfortunately, mustard yellow is a color that a lot of Transformers fans tend to not like too much on Transformers toys. So that's one thing that was Power Core Combiner Huffer has working against him. Is that he isn't quite orange like all the other toys of Huffer that have been released have been. Beast Hunters Huffer, I don't know how it's appearing on my camera. It's probably looking more yellow than it actually is, but Prime Beast Hunters Huffer is a very, very bright shade of orange. He's not yellow, he is in fact orange. And Combiner Wars Huffer, he's a repaint of the Generations Thrilling 30 Legends class Optimus Prime with a different head sculpt. And part of the reason for that was Hasbro decided that rather than designing a brand new toy of Huffer, that the mold could work well as great as Huffer as it did for Optimus Prime. Me personally, I wouldn't mind if Hasbro designed a new toy of Huffer that had a transformation similar to the Generation 1 figure. Third-party companies have designed toys of Huffer of similar size to these ones here that have a transformation just like the G1 toy, but again, having modern-day toy technology of fully articulated joints in the robot mode. So yeah, Huffer definitely deserves a new toy at some point in the future. So before we transform all these guys, for the Power Core Combiners version of Huffer, the Power Core Combiners toy line was basically a toy line where Transformers, they transformed into a combiner similar to the G1 toys, but only the torso robots had actual robot modes. So the Power Core Combiner's version of Huffer has two heads, his standard head, and then he also has his combiner head. And and this is one of the reasons why a lot of Transformers fans were disappointed with the Power Core Combiner's version of Huffer, because his combiner head, it's Menasor. There's no other way of looking around it. That's Menasor's head. So seeing Menasor's head on Huffer's body, it's something that a lot of Transformers fans haven't really sat well with. And for those of you wondering why Power Core Combiner's Huffer's weapon looks so different, it's actually a minicon named Caliburst. Yes, Caliburst, the same name as the Target Master on Generation 1 Slug Slinger. I'm not going to transform Caliburst because he's not that interesting. And basically, Caliburst, first, all he really does is act as chest armor for Huffer, and Huffer can't really hold Caliburst because he doesn't have 5mm peg holes in his fists, so I'm going to just leave Caliburst out of the way. So I'm going to transform Power Core Combiner's Huffer first, because it's Power Core Combiner's Huffer. One thing he has over the others is that his transformation is slightly easier, although on my copy of Power Core Combiner's Huffer, it's been a while since I've transformed him, so some joints are loose, some joints have tightened up in the 9 years that I've owned him. But at least the transformation still works easily. So there is Power Core Combiner's Huffer in his alt mode. Just like the Generation 1 toy, Hasbro decided to make Huffer a semi-truck for his alt mode once again. And similar to Optimus Prime in the Transformers live-action movies, Hasbro decided for the Power Core Combiner Wars Power Core Combiners toy line to make Huffer a long-nosed semi-truck the way they did with Optimus Prime, and I am upgrading him from a flat-nosed semi-truck to a long-nosed one. And there's Caliburst attached to Huffer in his alt mode, and a lot of Transformers fans pointed out that Caliburst, even though he has a double-barreled laser gun here on the back, it actually makes Huffer a tow truck similar to Generation 1 hoist, so yeah, I'll let you decide that. And now, in terms of vehicle mode diversity, the Prime Beast Hunters version of Huffer has the most diverse vehicle mode out of all the toys of Huffer that have been created over the years, and basically, as I said at the beginning of the video, the Prime Beast Hunters version of Huffer, it is a straight-up repaint of the Prime Beast Hunters version of Trailbreaker, which Prime Beast Hunters Trailbreaker was in fact a repaint and extensive retool of the Transformers Prime toy of Ironhide. So basically for Iron, the Transformers Prime version of Ironhide was actually a downsized version of the deluxe class toy of Cup. So basically in the Transformers Prime toy line, all of the Generation 1 Autobots who turned into trucks, Hasbro attempted to link them all by making toys that had similar transformations and alt modes. So here is the Prime Beast Hunters version of Huffer in his alt mode, and unfortunately the only peg hole that he has for his blue laser gun that makes his vehicle mode symmetrical is on the hood of his vehicle mode. You can put it on the sides and on the back, but then it's off center, so yeah, that is a tad unfortunate. But yes, there is the Prime Beast Hunters version of Huffer in his alt mode of an armored up pickup truck. Okay. And this is the only toy of Huffer that has a pickup truck for his alt mode. All the other toys of Huffer, as few of them as there are, they all transform into semi-trucks. Now, in the last figure spotlight video, I had said that Combiner Wars Huffer, I had actually given his laser gun right here to the Legends class Power of the Primes Outback toy that I own, and I am going to give the laser gun back to Outback when this figure spotlight video is done. I just wanted to bring it out to show what Huffer looks like when he's complete with the one accessory piece that he comes with. And the part of the reason why I gave Huffer I gave his laser gun to Power of the Primes Outback. Please watch my figure spotlight video review of Outback to explain the main reason why I did it. But another reason why I gave Huffer's laser gun to Outback was because the only proper some weapon storage for Huffer's laser gun when he's in his alt mode is right here on the top front section of his semi-truck. So between the Beast Hunters version of Huffer and the Combiner Wars version of Huffer, Hasbro apparently wanted to start a trend where Huffer carries a laser gun on the front of his vehicle mode. There is another weapon storage for Huffer's laser gun. And what you do is you have it pointed around and upside down like this, and it's been a while since I've done it, so bear with me for a second, but you can, if you want, store Huffer's laser gun. Now I remember how it went. You can store Huffer's laser gun like this. It doesn't really lock into place, it's just friction holding it in there, but yeah, if you don't like Huffer's laser gun sticking on the roof of his semi-truck mode, then you can have his laser gun stored here on the back of his truck, of his alt mode, and have the gun barrel pointing out back between his feet. So yeah, you do have that option. And so yes, this has been the figure spotlight video review of Huffer. Huffer. Unfortunately, Huffer, it remains today the least popular character from the original 1984 Generation 1 lineup of Autobot Transformers characters, and in my opinion, if Huffer is the least popular and least liked of the original 1984 Autobot cast, then it's proof that the Transformers franchise has been a success, because for me personally, I really don't mind Huffer too much. I don't have as much disdain for him as other Transformers fans do. And in my opinion, if Huffer was the worst of the original lineup of the Autobot cast members, then I think Hasbro and Takara Tomy have done a successful job with the Transformers franchise. Now, whether or not a new toy of Huffer will be released at mass retail in the near future remains to be seen, because there are time periods of several years between the release of these toys. Switching these guys around, here they are lined up in chronological order of when they were released: 2010, 2013, and 2016. So yes, if I were to recommend one of these toys of Huffer to get, the Combiner Wars version of Huffer, in my opinion, it is the best. Since it was the most recently released, it is still sold for a decent price on some websites, although I have seen the Prime Beast Hunters version of Huffer selling at cheaper prices than even Combiner Wars Huffer and PowerCore Combiners Huffer at times. But yes, thank you so much for watching. This has been the TFN Geek. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comment section what you think of Huffer, and have a great day.